Okay guys, I'm getting ready to spin some fleece that I had washed previous, but I just wash it in fleece form. I don't skirt it, I don't pull it apart in locks and stuff, and then when I go to get it ready, I don't use carders or anything like that. I just pull it apart with my fingers or finger pick it, and I'm going to show you how I do that. If some of you are going to be using this wheel, you're going to want to be able to have access to a lot of wool, and this is the easiest way to just buy it straight from the farm or go home, wash it up, and then end up turning around and spinning it without having to go through like 13 extra steps. Seems like the other steps are made for speed. You skirt it, it makes it easier to wash, and then when you wash it, you card it, it makes it easier to do this because you're not going lock by lock, and then you got big piles of fluff laying around that you can spin. Now I'll take this and I'll just put it back. This is a lock and I've spread it out, but I'm going to take it back, crush it down into lock form, and then just start drafting it out, almost like I'm trying to make roving by hand. And whatever I end up with is what's going to be good enough for me to start spinning with. And this is how I like to do it. This is how I prepare my fiber straight off of the fleece, and this is how I do it if I'm going to spin on a wheel, or this is how I do it if I'm going to spin on a spindle and such. So the other thing is, I don't use a leader yarn. I just take the tip of this and I draft it out really thin. Something you got to know about me right off the bat is I try to spin too thin, and I always pull my yarn apart, but that's neither here nor there. So I just take this and I start spinning it with my finger, because I only need just a little bit to wrap around the end of this, like so. I wrap it around here, and then if I start spinning, it's already grabbed it. So I'm good to go here, and I can just start taking off and spinning me some yarn. I didn't draft all this off up here, but that's okay. The only thing is, when you wind on the first time, you can't just kick it straight backwards, because you'll take it off. So this first time you need to do that, and then you're good to go from there on. We're off and running. Of course, you want to do this inside or somewhere protected by the wind at least, because it is giving me issues. I don't know what kind of fleece this is. We got it out of Kansas City, Missouri, at a sheep shearing day at a living museum up there called Missouri Town. And it's a lot of fun up there every year, but I really couldn't tell you anything specific about the breeds. I can tell you that I love the Dodec spinning wheel, and I love just tearing into these fleeces and spinning up a lot of yarn. Let me go ahead and put on another piece. You can see there at the end, I just kind of, and see, I'm just pinching just a little bit off, and it's okay that it comes off fluffy, because that's half my job there. You see at the end, I just kind of let go of the yarn, because when I pull it back off, it'll cling to this pretty well and stuff. But I even store the wheel with the wool just hanging there all fluffy and laid out. I don't know how the rest of you guys do it, but that is how I roll and or spin. Alright, so you pull this apart on both ends. You're pulling the tips apart because they've been kind of wetted and crushed over the year that the animal's been wearing this wool. You pull the base of the lock apart, because that's where the shears kind of crushed it together and tried to felt it but didn't really succeed. And then if there's any kind of little debris or whatever, you know, it's easy to pull it out here. It's actually easy to pull it out once it's yarn. A lot of it falls out during the washing process. But this is about as straightforward as it gets, guys. Pull it out of the fleece, spin it up on this wheel, and knit the heck out of some wool. Alright, so we go back to this, lay those two together, and start giving it a whirl. Spindle spinning is very forgiving about your drafting, as you can see. You can kind of do what you want. I don't know if you caught what I did with my hand there, but if you draft out a little too much yarn and then you're afraid that it's going to bind up when you go backwards and it comes out, all you have to do is take your hand down at an angle, and that'll actually take up more of the slack, and you can just keep going. But that way you can actually spin a little longer before you know, put some yarn on the spindle. Now, the smaller chunks you take off, the easier they are to fluff out in a draft, but the bigger chunks you take out, of course, the longer roving you can make and spin longer. So that's up to your preference. I would start taking smaller ones so that you were really good at finger picking this stuff, because anything that's left kind of grouped up in this wool is going to be left chunky in the yarn too. So the lighter and fluffier you have this wool pulled apart before you draft it into your quote unquote roving, you know, the smoother your yarn's going to be and the prettier and stuff. I don't know if you notice the two techniques I use. I'm not pulling it apart at the end, I'm pulling it apart right before the end, and that kind of pulls the ends apart. But then you also get a pretty good separation if you just run your fingers out the end as well. It takes some practice, but it looks easy when you see somebody else do it. So, really trying to spread this out so we're not having any knots and stuff when we go to spin it. But this time, this roving will be quite a bit longer and larger than the other ones I'd been using. It's definitely more thick to begin with to start pulling out and stuff, so you want to just take your time, be careful, get a nice even draft on it or pre-draft. Then I guess I'm going to have to wrap it around my arm or any number of things to hold on to it so that the wind's not blowing it crazy. Let's try that. Let's go like this. Yeah, that's not going to work yet. Okay, let's go like this. Yeah. Pull this back out. This guy. You gotta be kidding me. And pinch it to your fiber, give her a spin, and start going. Sorry this video is a little long. You can see that this wheel lets you spin, and even if it kinks up, when you pull it out, it does not act like a flyer wheel at all. And that goes for all spindle wheels. They are very forgiving. You can't really over twist that easy. It just does all the work for you, in my opinion. I'm really pleased with it and how it reacts. I think you guys will be too. Again, you can let it kink up all you want. It's not pulling on it, it's not knotting it up. It'll spin right out, and then you can wind it on here and you're still going at it. I do like this wheel. I don't know if you remember, but that spindle was empty at the beginning of this video, and I've spent most of my time actually finger picking this wool, so all of this yarn that we got on here really spun up in no time at all. So I hope you guys like it. I hope it's just as easy for you. I hope we see a lot of, you know, unique designs and stuff coming out of this, and I hope it works for you. Thanks.